Tens of thousands of people trying to escape the invasion and fleeing Ukraine to neighboring countries. Melanie Lance is the head of communications and government relations for the UN High Commissioner for Refugees Canada, and she joins us once again in Ottawa. So Melanie, thanks for being patient with us. Talk to us about the number of people who are now trying to flee Ukraine. You were starting on that point before we had to take a break. Do we have any idea just how many people are trying to run and where they're headed to?
Yeah, well, it's very difficult to get a full picture of how many people are displaced within Ukraine because of the security situation. However, we do know as of this morning, there were at least 150,000 people that had crossed an international border to a neighboring country, more than half to Poland, the majority of the remainder to Moldova, and then also others to Romania, Hungary, and other neighboring countries. So a big movement of people, and in fact, we are calling it a refugee crisis.
So calling it officially now a refugee crisis, how have these countries responded? Are they well equipped? Can they handle this sudden influx of refugees?
Well, as I was saying, we see the worst of humanity, but we also see the best. And there's been amazing solidarity and generosity from the people of neighboring countries. People have literally opened their homes, given food, shelter, water to people arriving. And the borders have stayed open, and that needs to be mentioned because it was one of the critical things we were calling for. In a situation like this, you absolutely need people to be able to seek safety and shelter. We have seen different operations start up in these neighboring countries led by local authorities and by local organizations. But for sure, given the numbers and the increase in the numbers and the rapid increase that we're seeing, they will need support. And the UN will be launching an appeal regionally for support for Ukraine and neighboring countries in the coming days.
Well, I was going to ask that question, but perhaps now's the best time to ask it, because of course we are now seeing Canadians of all different backgrounds right across our country trying to figure out how they can help the situation, horrified by what they're seeing in Ukraine. How can they help?
The best way an individual person can help in times like these is to donate money to a reputable organization like UNHCR or another organization of their choice that is present on the ground helping people. For UNHCR, we know that at the moment the needs, the most important needs are shelter and safety, but also water, food, and other types of supplies. It's winter, blankets are needed. You've seen the images, many mothers with small children at this point. Some walking for very great distances to find safety. So the needs are there, and the best thing people can do is donate money so organizations can do what they do best and get it where it's most needed in the best way possible.
Well, you mentioned the immediate need for housing and food and blankets, and I'm wondering what your colleagues at the borders are telling you right now. Are they able to meet the current demand, or are they struggling to meet the current demand?
So far, I know that there have been shipments of aid from UNHCR to neighboring countries and within Ukraine as well. But as I said, local populations have also really stepped up, as you can see from the images. So far, I think needs are being met. However, it's such a fluid situation. And I did an interview yesterday, and I was talking about 50,000 people. And this morning, we're talking about 150. So you can see the extent to which this is rapidly rising in terms of numbers of people. So we anticipate that support will be needed over the coming days.
And part of that anticipation is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, some people are saying we could be looking at nearly 4 or 5 million people being displaced by this invasion.
Yes, so certain scenarios have been built in terms of contingency planning, and that is the worst case scenario at this point. But we could indeed see up to 4 million people forced to flee Ukraine if this situation continues to deteriorate like we're seeing at the moment.